Helena Marshall and Jacob Basel are Fridays for Future activists. They took part in the protests that turned the environmental movement into a household name. The coronavirus pandemic put an end to such mass gatherings. Fridays for Future is now looking for new ways to raise awareness. Of course, you have to maintain social distancing. That means that we, for instance, paint crosses onto the streets in some cities, and people keep their distance by standing on those marks. Or we form human change with people holding tape to keep apart. In some cases, we won't bring people onto the streets at all, but instead use items like protest signs. As part of online protest, Fridays for Future placed 10,000 placards in front of the German parliament in April. But the activists know such digital demonstrations won't be enough to push their message in the long term. I think we were right to hold back, but now our voice needs to be heard again. We have to remind people what is most important. We have to be confident and clear that the climate crisis is the biggest crisis of the century. We have to treat it that way. They are also keen to take up the fight again. Extinction Rebellion are back with what they're calling Rebellion Week. Civil disobedience is compatible with social distancing, as this sit-in at an industrial lobby headquarters in Berlin shows. We're only a small group. I'm glued to this spot, and the rebels below me have chained themselves to it. This is how we protest, and I think it's entirely appropriate. The risk of infection weighs heavily on the climate protest, which have been forced to reinvent themselves. There are strong hippie vibes at this 24-hour demo in a Berlin park. A handful of activists want to engage with the public through music and discussion. We don't want to limit ourselves to big demonstrations where you go out on the streets for only an hour and all that counts is your slogan and the amount of people who show up. We want to offer a space for people to exchange ideas. They've become more colorful and creative, but with the pandemic preventing big turnouts, climate protests have yet to reach their earlier power to exert political pressure.